All right, Vanessa Ruck, you were on Driven to Ride. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor.
It's absolutely awesome to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's just start at the beginning. What do people know you for? Maybe like what's your claim to fame in your own words?
Oh my goodness, straight in with a big question. So I'm known as the girl on a bike, sort of, I'm the face behind that as such, Vanessa Ruck. And I suppose I'm most known for some motorcycle adventures and extreme racing in more recent years. But the goal that I've always had in sort of being the girl on a bike is to try and make other people realize that life is really short and it's absolutely incredible what we can achieve if we put our mindset to it, set our goals, and we go make it happen. I live and manage chronic pain after a pretty life changing accident, which opened a new world for me in terms of discovering motorcycles. And I haven't been riding all of that long. And so, in the last sort of 8 years since I first started off road riding, I've ramped up, and I suppose I'm now known for having done some of the toughest off-road motorcycle races in the world, including the original Dakar, the Africa Eco Race this year, where I was the first British female to ever successfully finish that event. So that's probably like my little claim to fame or something, I suppose.
That's an impressive resume, even just on the face of it. So we'll just dive right into it. You got into motorcycling after that life changing accident, correct?
I did. Yeah, a lot of people see the sort of riding and racing that I've been doing and think I've been riding since I was a teeny tot, because a lot of the competitors that I race genuinely have been.
Sure.
But I think it's really important for people to realize that you don't have to have been doing something your whole life. You can just get up, give it a go, be that Bambi novice person and go out there and learn and upskill and get out there. So there's also the element of I basically, my life-changing accident was on a push bike cycling, and I got hit by a car that jumped a red light, unfortunately,
Jeez.
and it was
Yeah.
life-changing for me. But a lot of people are like, so you got hit on the road, you've now got two reconstructed body parts and had a 7-year recovery and live and manage pain, and then you decided it was a good idea to go and buy a motorcycle. What's going on in your mind, and how does your mum feel about this?
Yeah, really.
And I'm going to be honest, I will fully accept that there are some strange choices in there, but I think the most important thing was a foundation of focus on my mental health and allowing the accident to completely defeat me and stop me going out there. I was clinically diagnosed with fear of the road and multiple other mental health disorders, but I could not let that accident define me and control my whole future. And the
Wow.
motorcycles just became a determination and a new lease of life. And for anyone listening who rides motorcycles, you'll know what I mean when I say they breed. So once you have one motorbike, you kind of end up with another one, and then there's another one, and then before you know it, you're just a full-blown motorbike addict, and it's the best thing you ever did.
So what was it about motorcycles that kind of drew you to it? I mean, you could have picked almost anything, I think, maybe. What was it specifically about motorcycles that drew you to them?
Yeah, so I was always an adrenaline junkie. Prior to the accident, I was really into sports. Kite surfing was my big one. I rock
Wow.
climbed, snowboard, snow kite, horse ride, mountain bike, really just a lover of adrenaline. But after the accident, my body was irreversibly changed. And, I now have to manage my body every day. So mentally, going back to the sports that I used to do were always going to be a massive expectation management with myself. Like,
Okay.
how did I used to feel? How good I used to be? The fact that I didn't used to have pain and now I do. And the motorcycles are just something completely new and different. And being straight, I did not get that first motorcycle and think that I would be doing the original Dakar in 2024. It's definitely been a journey of progression, stepping stones. And the first bike really was out of despair trying to get to work once I was back at work. Because I used to cycle to work every day, rain or shine, hail, snow, whatever it was. I got on my bicycle and I rode 16 miles round trip every day.
Yeah.
If I wanted to be lazy and I wanted to go in the car, I actually had to get up earlier because of how much traffic, parking,
Sure.
etc.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I was just rinsing money on we had a Mercedes 3.5 litre V6 camper van, which was I was driving to work.
Oh,
Parking
geez.
was a nightmare. It would take me an hour and a half to get there in a car, and it used to take me 25 minutes on a bicycle. And then
Yeah.
I suddenly had this genius idea that I should get a motorbike because then I can save money on parking, save money on fuel, save time, and it was going to be amazing. Obviously, my brain at that point on a Friday night sat with a couple of friends, wasn't thinking about the reality of what getting a motorcycle meant. I had to go back out on the road, and I can't overemphasize enough how hard that was. I have had many panic attacks, breakdowns, tears, and it's been a very challenging journey overcoming the fear. Effectively, when something like that happens, you lose all trust in the highway code.
Sure.
You lose all trust of what the other cars around you are going to do, and we all know how vulnerable you are on a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think initially it really was just out of I just can't cope with this much time commuting and energy, and I need to overcome this could be a way of doing it. Once you get a motorcycle and realize that you can go down a really quiet country road away from anybody else, away from the highway code and the person that's jumped the red light, and you can get that sense of adrenaline, the wind in the air, the sensory tingulation that you get from being so close to the tarmac and the hedges and the birds tweeting and the speed, the adrenaline, the forces you pull away and brake and lean into corners, all of those kinds of things. I mean, I just got addicted to that, really, and it kind of just continued to escalate between surgeries. So I sort of got the bikes during my recovery, and I've had 6 surgeries since I got that first bike. And a lot of people then think, oh, it's because you fell off your bike. They were nothing to do with the riding the motorcycles.
Sure, yeah.
It was to do with complications from the accident and how complicated, to use the same word again, the human body is when you start to get major disruption to technical joints, such as the shoulder and hip, which have both been reconstructed.
Yeah, that's not a small deal thing. I mean, that's major surgery. That's a lot of pain to deal with. That's a lot of recovery time. And it sounds like really motorcycles were part of your recovery process mentally as much as it was physically.
Absolutely. It started with this little commuting bike, and very quickly my husband and I ended up getting 2 Harley Davidsons. This was one of those, we went to the dealer for an afternoon just to have a anniversary ride on these 2 Harleys. We both had our bike license but didn't have bikes.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like ticking things like that. So last year I did my chainsaw license for absolutely no reason at all other than I wanted to get my chainsaw license.
Love it.
I'm currently working towards my AGV Arctic truck license just because I can,
Sure.
expand
Yeah,
my
why not?
knowledge kind of thing. And so I did my bike license when I was at uni. And anyway, we had these 2 Harleys for an afternoon, and zero intention to buy, ordering 2 in a week, like one of those early life crisis things. But when I look back, it was by far the best decision for my mental health through my whole recovery, because I was at a point in time where I didn't really see the point of much in life. And I was in a lot of pain. I was doing a lot of rehab. Once I was back at work, I didn't see the point of taking my valuable vacation to do what? Like sit at home and feel sorry for myself because I can't do anything fun.
Right.
I'm not into spa breaks or city tours. And people that don't ride motorbikes will often question, well, how can you ride a Harley Davidson if you've got a sore shoulder or a hurt hip? But the reality is, no offense to if there is anyone that fits this demographic listening, like the old, large, unfit males that you might see on a Harley Davidson, you don't need to be fit to ride a motorbike. It's not like you ride them on a road like with your arms and you're not holding 300 kilo bike with your legs. Once you're on it, it's like a sofa with an engine, really.
Yeah.
And so those 2 first Harley Davidsons we got, I think we ended up doing something like 25,000 miles around Europe in the first 3 years between surgeries when I was able to get on a motorcycle.
Sure.
And it became like the new focus, the new obsession in life, like probably 15 or 18 different countries, taking us to new cultures, staying in hotels that we would never have got to if it wasn't for motorbikes, doing some of the incredible mountain passes like Stelvio and Furka in the Alps and the Dolomites.
Mm-hmm.
It just became like the new adventure, but I didn't have to be physically fit for it.
Yeah, you could
Because
be
I was
accessible.
still very broken physically, really. And I actually then started to transition. People go, well, hang on, riding a Harley, you've just done the most extreme off-road desert race. How do they connect together?
Yeah.
And yeah, I was bedbound when I decided I wanted to get my first off-road bike. I couldn't even go to the toilet on my own, couldn't put my own socks on.
Wow.
I was dependent on my husband or my family helping me with most things, including peeing in a bedpan. Or peeing on myself because I was so useless with bedpans, horrible things. And I decided that I wanted to get my first off-road bike. To this day, I don't know where the idea came from. My husband claims he planted a seed, but I think he's just trying to take the glory of that. I'm not sure. We'll never really get over that dispute. But anyway, he's super supportive. So he was like, okay, you're a nutter, but fine. Did some research and we went out and got me my first little dirt bike. It was a WR 250 4-stroke. So it's quite a big, hefty enduro bike.
Sure, yeah.
And it was 5 months till I could even sit on it.
So it sat for 5 months before you could even get a leg over it.
Yeah. But every day it was sat there, it was there as a goal and a reminder of why I needed to find the strength to do my physio and why I needed to do what my body needed to help me get fit, why I needed to go to the swimming pool 6 days a week and walk for 20 minutes in the water, because I knew eventually if I walked in the water enough, I'd be able to walk out of the water. Maybe once I'd be able to walk out of the water, I might be able to do more to, it's that goal. And the elephant goal of getting on the motorcycle was huge. So it was all the little motivations that helped me get towards that. And then eventually I was able to get on this motorbike. And my goodness, it made me realize that I had no idea how to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah, the off-road will do that to you.
Yeah, I was pretty comfortable on the road. I could get the peg down on corners and have a good time on a road bike. But my goodness, you go off-road and you're like Bambi. You're sliding everywhere. And I think about some of the terrain that we used to do in those early rides, and the speeds and how fearful it was. And then I look at what I can do now, and it's just so incredible sometimes to take a moment and reflect on our progression and where we've come from. But off-road is like just wild because everything wants you to fall off, basically. And your whole purpose of a rider is just to try and keep going in the same direction.
Yeah, without falling off. And I've had some experiences with off-road riding. I'm mainly a street rider, but the off-road riding is a humbling experience no matter how experienced you are on the road. I totally understand what you're talking about. It's a wild, like you said, I think the best way you can put it is everything is trying to make you fall off. And it's a lot more physical than riding a Harley on a perfectly paved highway. So that was probably another like goal to try to get back to the physicality of being able to, because you do have to be fit to ride off-road, like serious off-road or even ADV, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I know with the desert races that I've done, a lot of people think, you've got an engine, how hard it can be. And it's like, have you ever tried walking in deep sand?
Mm-hmm.
Try running in deep sand. What about a push bike in deep sand? Then put yourself on a 177 kilo rally bike that can't even stand up on its own and wrestle deep sand, massive rocky riverbeds in Morocco, the kind of terrain that North Africa throws at you, for anywhere from 6 to 13 hours a day for 8 to 13 days in a row. Then tell me that it's not hard work. It's 8,000 plus calories a day. I mean, it's unreal, the endurance and the strength you need to do those events.
Yeah, well, let's jump right into Dakar because, I mean, from an American perspective, I'm not sure how many people know even where Dakar is. Let's just start from there.
Yeah.
And then not to mention it's this mega huge race, like you said, that you've done. And you kind of set a record with being one of the first British women to complete this insane race. Tell me everything.
Yeah, okay. So the Dakar is a very infamous extreme desert rally, and it is one that started in North Africa many years ago. It's multiple days. In its current form, it's 13 days and 6,000 kilometers. Unfortunately, due to some PR reasons, the original Dakar left North Africa, went to South America for many years, and then again for PR reasons, largely where the bankroll is, it moved to Saudi Arabia and is now the original Dakar as such, as far as the brand of Dakar is now in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
And with the heritage of the Dakar and the emotion, the feeling, the passion, the energy of the countries that it goes through in Africa. So traditionally it started in Paris. It now starts in Monaco in France.
Mm-hmm.
Goes down through Morocco, down through Western Sahara, into Mauritania, down to Senegal, and ends in the city of Dakar, 6,000 kilometers. And because of the heritage of that original Dakar, the Africa Eco Race was set up to make it live on. And, some of the reasons why it left in the first place was because of dangerous shootings and it not being safe. And really, it was where the bank was going to pay Dakar the most, i.e. the countries wanting to host it.
Sure.
Like, I'm a female and I just did the Dakar, I didn't get shot. It's not a dangerous place to be. And so this is a 6,000 kilometer event across 13 days, and you are doing unbelievable terrain across the various countries in North Africa. So it's not all the same. Some of the days, once you start to get further south, are 95% sand. You've got sand dunes that can be 400 meters high. And you've then got the complexity of the navigation. So I'm guessing everyone's listening has used Google Maps.
Right.
Super easy, right? It's a map and a line and a little dot, and you know exactly where you are and you know exactly which way to go.
It's pretty foolproof.
Throw all
yeah.
that out the window. You're not allowed any of that. You've got a piece of paper in a scroll that could be 15 meters long, and you've got that in a little box mounted on your handlebar that you control with your thumb to scroll it, and it gives you line of code. So you've got your kilometers, some little symbols and pictures, some abbreviations that are all in French, just because why would you make it any easier? And then compass bearings, so cap headings that you've got to follow, like 90 degrees, 75 degrees. And you're reading that line by line off your handlebars whilst you're trying to race, looking ahead, reading the terrain, not letting that rock or rut or whatever it is spit you out for breakfast, and whilst trying to race and not be the slowest one out there. So you're physically unbelievably engrossed and mentally so engaged. If you lose your concentration for a second, you can lose where you are. And if you lose where you are, you can't just go, hey, Google, where am I? You have to go back to where you were last 100% sure of where you were and restart. People often think, oh, well, you're just on track, so you're going to turn left at this track and right at that track and take the third fork. No, they take you off piste. So you'll literally be using compass headings across the sand dunes. And so it's physically and mentally just absolutely brutal. Typical day, you'll be doing anywhere from 450, 800 kilometers a day. You'll be sleeping in a tent at night. You tend to have the support team bivouac of the event moves as you race, and you'll go off and race and meet them. So you'll get to your trailer and you'll be able to take your kit bags off, your food boxes, your tent, etc. Basic showers and toilets. I always have a mechanic and a support crew. And you basically just got to try and survive. I think this year in the Africa Eco Race, there was, of all the motorbikes that started on the start line, about half of them made it to the finish line.
Wow.
That's the sort of attrition rate and how difficult these events are. This year, there were actually 3 females, which is incredible. I was the only one of those 3 females to finish this year. And I'm within... it's hard to find the exact, but I think it's sub 5 females who have ever finished it across all time. But the first British female definitely to have successfully finished all stages. And I finished every single stage, 100% completed. So I was really proud. I was pretty broken by the end.
Yeah, well, congratulations, first of all. That's in order at the top here, and that's just very impressive. I mean, if half of all people can't do it, and you were able to finish, how long did it take you? How many days? How'd you feel at the end getting off the bike for the last time at that finish line?
The emotional roller coaster of that finish line was unreal. I've got a full YouTube series on my channel, so you can watch the whole race, including the emotions on the finish line. I actually managed to make it to 12 kilometers from the end in Dakar before having a massive crash where I ended up separating my good shoulder and doing a grade 2 ACJ separation on that. Basically a yard sail hitting a bit of boat on the beach that I just didn't see.
Oh my
straight
God.
over, airbag deployed. Thankfully, I only had 12K to the finish because I wouldn't have managed multiple days on that injury.
Sure.
But it was like you didn't know whether to scream or cry or scream from the pain, the exhaustion, the happiness, the overwhelmingness that you'd made it, the fact that you were alive. In most of these races, unfortunately, people don't come home. Like they are really dangerous. I know Morocco last year, peak riding temperature was 52 degrees and 2 people didn't come home from that event. It's part of the risk that you kind of weigh up going into these events. You're out there in the middle of nowhere on your own on a motorbike and things happen like that. I know one of the guys broke his neck this year in the event.
Jeez.
Thankfully he's doing okay now, but it's all the risks that go along with it and getting to the finish line. You can see my trophy up behind me.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's a great trophy.
Unreal. Considering how tired I was high. I was like flying. I had this a Union Jack flag and I was like running around, waving it everywhere with one arm, actually, to be fair, because I'd hurt the shoulder.
Yeah.
But I was just buzzing off it. But being honest, it probably took me 2 months to get my normal energy levels back.
Really?
Post that event for the absolute fatigue in the body.
Yeah. I mean, so let's go to 2 months after that. And like, you're maybe going to work or doing the dishes or kind of just hanging out at home. Have you had like flashbacks of like, oh my God, I did this Africa eco race and I'm only one of 5-ish women in the world that have done this?
I still get those flashbacks now, to be honest. Like I'm heavily pregnant at the moment, so I'm 34 weeks. So I've got 6 weeks left. And I do quite a lot of corporate speaking and school speaking to just try and give back to the world and give some energy and some of the stuff that I've learned through my journey with the accident. And I often take my rally bike with me. And I was trying to maneuver my rally bike pregnant, so I know I'm not my normal fitness. I've got no core. I'm basically like a round Oompa Loompa. And I'm just like, how on earth did I ride this in the desert? Like, how was I strong enough for this? And I still look at it and just wonder how I managed it. But it's bonkers how much power we can create through our mind and through good preparation. I worked so hard on my fitness. I worked really hard with my physio team, and I have to manage my hip and on a pain level, everything. Make sure I had the right team there, all of the right food, the resources. Once you're in the desert, you can't just pop to Walmart or Tesco's and get something. You have to have absolutely everything with you from the start. And if you don't have it, you're stuck. So the preparation is just huge. I still have moments where I sort of pinch myself. And I think going into pregnancy, it made pregnancy a lot harder for me. I hit a really, really bad patch middle of second trimester where I'll be straight honest, it was probably prenatal depression, whatever, where I lost sight of who I was, because I used to be able to do all these races and I was so strong and capable, and the world totally changes as you get pregnant and you go into motherhood. On a physical level, even reaching your own feet gets hard again. I can still exercise. I was out on the mountain bike yesterday. I'm still getting on the motorbike every so often, but gosh, there's no way I could go to the desert. And it was almost like this identity crisis of, have I killed myself? Like, Vanessa's gone? Sure. And it took me and my family giving me a lot of support, a lot of realization that, no, this is just a chapter, and I can still do those things afterwards, and I can still be active and go back on motorbikes. And if I want to go back into the desert, which I do, it's all still possible. But I think the world doesn't really set us up for pregnancy in quite the right way, because I don't think we talk about it fairly. because it's so magical and perfect. And you're like, no, it's not. It's really hard.
Yeah. You want to talk
Growing
about
another human.
talk about changing your body and changing mentally and physically. I can't even begin to imagine. I mean, but you are still riding. Was there any question when you found out you were pregnant that you were going to like stop or pause riding motorcycles?
Yes, I think there was a big unknown. So
Okay.
there was a lot of research that had to be done, and I had to work out what's medically safe. Like some people, there's the world of the internet. I put my whole life out there as the girl on a bike, and I'm very open and honest. And there's always going to be keyboard warriors that are going to judge what you do. And so you almost have to be extra armed if you're putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And some people would say I'm reckless and I'm selfish and you're not thinking about your child. And it's like, well, actually, no, we've evolved for millions of years or thousands of years. I don't know how old we are. Years.
A long time.
To create a long time to create babies. And they are really well protected inside the womb. And yes, there are things that we should avoid and can't do, and foods that we probably shouldn't eat, etc. But actually, the most powerful thing is the fact that your body will tell you. If it hurts, if it feels uncomfortable, if you get a funny little feeling, then don't do it. But if your body is used to doing things, it's proven that being active through pregnancy helps reduce complications, duration of labor, pain of labor, and helps you in early motherhood. It's proven, plus the mental health side of things. If you were to suddenly have to just stop, wrap yourself up in cotton wool and sit on the sofa, my goodness, the mental health state of females would be insane. Yeah. And so I've been on a proper mission to try and help other women make empowered decisions themselves. Because me saying I'm okay to ride a motorcycle doesn't mean that Jane and Jill and Anne are happy to ride a motorcycle. It's so personal. It's down to your risk levels, your skill level. I was out on my mountain bike yesterday doing some pretty technical trails, but I feel very comfortable with my ability on a mountain bike. Someone that doesn't normally mountain bike, that would be stupid. That would be a really reckless thing to do because you would be putting yourself at risk and the risk of falling, etc. I just think it's about knowing your body, knowing what you're comfortable and confident with, and owning your decisions and just trying to shut out the society that will judge, basically. And I hope that by the fact that I've been so open and honest about it, it will just help more people be able to feel empowered about their pregnancies as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know your body better than anybody else, and I think that's a personal decision that everybody can make. And you say it out loud and it makes perfect sense that if you keep doing what you're doing and what your body's used to, that just makes sense. It's almost like momentum. If you change something dramatically, it's going to have adverse effects whether you're pregnant or not, I think.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
So you're still mountain biking, you're still riding. You ride street, you ride ADV, you ride dirt bikes, obviously just casual through Africa. Do you still ride all different kinds of off-road? Do you have a favorite, or are you kind of strictly off-road now?
I do enjoy road riding, but just nowhere near as much as off-road. So at the moment, there's no way I'd get on my trials bike or my hard enduro bike or go do a rally. That's a no-go with a pregnancy. There's different levels of what's okay on a motorcycle. The bumps, the vibrations, all those things, your body just can't handle it. I mean, I think I'm nearly 14 kilos heavier than normal. And I've put on zero weight anywhere than my bump and my boobs.
Okay.
Boobs are pretty amazing. Yeah. And the bump. So it changes a lot of your center of gravity, all kinds of things. So I am only road riding now, and I haven't actually been out on the bike for a couple of weeks now, but I still would. I just haven't needed to. I love any type of motorcycle, but I'm going to be clear that I do gravitate towards the mud or the sand. I think it's the dynamic unknown, the variation, the fact that even if you're doing a track, every time you get to that corner, it's going to be different because another load of riders will have come through and the rocks and the mud will have moved and everything's kind of trying to throw you. I've done a track day. I really enjoyed it. I'd love to do another track day, but if I was like, do you want to go on the road or do you want to go off-road, I'd kind of lean to the off-road side. So that's really where my passion and love is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense considering you can do, going through like those mountain passes and stuff, like you mentioned, are technical on mountains, can require a lot of physicality, but it's not the same as, like you said, the trail is going to be different every single time. You don't have a minute to like necessarily relax or kick back and enjoy the view. You have to look at kind of what's coming up right in front of you. So I get it. It makes sense.
Yeah, and I also really love eating. I think any of my followers are probably, I've got a reputation for the fact that I've always eating or I've got snacks.
Okay.
And when you do off-road, you are burning so many calories, you just get to eat whatever you like. It's great.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. A little more freedom in that rather than kind of just leaning back on a Harley going through Europe. I want to ask, though, I got to go back to that. So obviously, you're in Europe. Harleys aren't the number one motorcycle in Europe or the UK. How did you end up on a Harley Davidson?
So the honeymoon that I went on with my husband was in Texas. Very random.
Say no more.
And we hired Harleys in Wichita Falls. And then we did about 1,000-mile road trip up to Midpoint Cafe on Route 66. We did the Paligiri Canyon. And we just rode. It was my first time I'd ever ridden a Harley.
Okay.
I'd passed my test, gosh, I don't want to count, quite a few years before.
Yeah.
And then we rocked up to hire these Harleys. I didn't even go for a little Harley. I went straight in for a Heritage Softail.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, cool, we just need to watch you ride around the car park and go through those cones. And I'm like, can I even remember how to ride a motorbike?
Right.
And it was absolutely fine. It's like riding a bike. And so, yeah, we rode these Harleys, and there's just something about that potato, the character, the soul. They're not the most advanced, they're not the fastest, they don't stop the quickest, but there's just something about those bikes that are just beautiful to ride. And some of the bikes that I've ridden in more recent years, so on Harley in the last couple of years, I've done New Zealand, Romania, Norway, all across Europe. And on the big touring bikes, my goodness, you have so much torque and power. I can overtake street bikes on some of the twisty roads with the power that those bikes can pull out of corners on hairpins.
Sure.
But you've also got your luggage and your mate on the back. It's incredible. There was a really fun moment actually in Norway last year. No, it was this year. It was a few months ago. I was 23 weeks pregnant when I did Norway, where I had Annika on the back, my girlfriend, and all of our luggage. And we just caught up with this group of guys on sports bikes.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be tickled by this, but I'm really competitive. And I was like, we're not going fast enough for this road. Why aren't they overtaking the person in front?
Right.
And sort of they were casually kind of overtaking, and then they spotted us and started to go a bit faster. And then we were on our intercoms and we're like, should we have them? So I'm joking. I'm choking, just laughing, remembering it. We also had a teddy bear strapped on the back of the bike because we got like Dick of the Day award. So not only was it two girls and a teddy bear on the biggest size Harley you can get, overtaking sports bikes on this hairpin road.
Man, that's no joke, man.
It was a good energy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like when you're riding a Harley with somebody on the back more proficiently than a bunch of sports bike riders, I think that speaks to the amount of skill that you've got on two wheels. So,
we worked out that our total weight was 650 kilos.
Man, that's like, I'm trying to do the American conversion. It's like 1,400 pounds, 1,300 pounds, maybe.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that's. I mean, a Harley in itself is about 700 pounds, which is about 300 kilos, I think.
3/4 of a ton.
Yeah, wow.
If that helps.
Wow. Yeah, that's and you're whipping that thing around mountain passes and hairpin turns in Norway.
Yeah.
Speaking of international travel, obviously it's a little bit easier in the UK to do international travel, but maybe what's one of your favorite trips that you've ever done?
So I'd have two.
Okay.
And that would be the first one would be Iceland.
Oh, wow.
So Iceland is disgusting when it comes to the weather and the temperature. You're going to be wet from the sky, wet from the ground from out of river crossings. It's going to be cold. It could be sunshine and then you'll be in a blizzard. but the scenery and the off-road riding is unreal. So I did that with Ride with Locals. I've actually been out with them 3 times now. They're so good. Enduro bikes. And you just go all the back places that the big coach loads of people can't go. You'll be going into lava fields and going up Hecla, the volcano. It's just unreal scenery. And then the variation in the terrain you're riding, you just never know what's coming. It's fantastic. You're staying in mountain huts with log fires. And it's just incredible. And then this year, I got to do the Himalayas for the first time in India. And I did that on a Royal Enfield Himalayan. And I have done the Alps and the Dolomites. I've been to the Andes. The magnitude and the scale of the Himalayas was absolutely insane. It makes you realize that you really are an ant, like a speck of sand in the world.
Sure.
But it was incredible. The culture, the food. We're staying in super basic bed sits, sort of homestays they call them, where you're literally just staying in the front room of local families that let you in, because there's no hotels as such in these rural places.
Right.
But that was an incredible adventure. Absolutely incredible.
Insane.
And I did that when I was pregnant as well. I think I was 13 weeks pregnant.
Man, dude, you've done more stuff pregnant than I think some people have done in their entire lives. It's impressive and insane all at the same time.
Yeah, fair. I'm starting to realize now, with 6 weeks to go, that I really need to start slowing down and resting. And if my husband and Annika can hear me at the moment, they probably can. They're going to call me out after this podcast going, I heard you say you need to slow down.
It's on record.
Slow down yet?
Yeah, it's on record. I said I would do it. So
I'm being filmed. It's on record in the
doorway. Can't go back on it now. But looking back, when you first got a motorcycle, did you ever think that you would have accomplished as much as you have or be where you're at now?
No. Straight absolute no. No chance at all. And the reality is it probably took me 6 years to mature through my accident and my recovery, and I wasn't fully recovered by this point, and I'm not now. I've got a 95% certainty of needing more surgery.
Jeez, okay.
But the accident is by far the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I manage it on a daily basis. I have pain, add pregnancy, and the fact that a lot of women have hip pain anyway in pregnancy, I've really been struggling. But it took me about 6 years to realize it's actually also probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. And it was kind of a sadistic thing to realize that I wouldn't change anything if I could go back in time. If I could suddenly go back to 2 minutes before and not go near that traffic lights, I don't think I'd stop it from happening, which is terrifying. But the amount that I've learnt mentally through the recovery that it's put me on, I'm very grateful for. Even things like what's worth fighting over and getting upset about, learning the power of mindfulness and the conscious mind, the ability to manage our own thoughts on a way more grounded level, the goal setting and the drive. I don't think some of the encounters I've had in the desert, I mean, I've been stuck in the desert with a broken down bike, having to have a campfire and wait to be rescued in the pitch black for 7.5 hours. And it sounds romantic, I did see a shooting star, but being in the desert in the middle of your own in Tunisia is not romantic. It was terrifying. But I don't think I would have survived those moments or had the strength to keep fighting through some of these races if I hadn't learned how strong I was through recovering from my accident. And everything I'm doing now is I've managed to try and turn my accident, which is a big negative, into a positive, and trying to use it to help other people. I think the world sets up this scene, particularly social media, that life is perfect and shiny and amazing and everyone's happy. And it's like, no.
Right.
No, we all have massive puzzles and struggles and things go wrong in everybody's life. Do not believe the shiny fake stuff on social media. And so I've just tried to be on a mission to be super honest and real,
Mm-hmm.
and show people that you're not the only one struggling.
I like it.
And I just want to, the whole time I can keep trying to give other people energy through what I'm up to in my story, then I will keep sharing it.
I love it. And I think that's an uncommon thing, like you said, that people are doing in social media and putting their life out there. And it's very admirable. So, thank you for doing it. And if somebody does want to kind of follow your story, learn more about you, how can they find you?
Yeah, so pretty much any of the social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Threads, WhatsApp, YouTube, TikTok. I've forgotten which ones I've said.
Yeah.
Most of the platforms you can find me as the girl on a bike, Vanessa Ruck. And if anyone wants to say hi and ask me any questions, just check in. My inbox is always open. Instagram and Facebook are the best ones for inbox, but I actively try and reply to everything and comments. Just sometimes might be a little bit slow just because of time and pregnancy.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
love
Small
to hear
little
from
thing.
people.
Small little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, spending some time with us. Congrats on the Africa Eco Race again. I would be holding that trophy up in every interview or ever go to every event. It's like, just by the way, I don't know, I won this. I don't know if you see it in my hands, but yeah, congrats on that. That's most impressive. And thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on.